This is just another wrestling podcast featuring Scott Sudakov and Daryl Hatfield. Just another wrestling podcast.
Boy, I'm so boring. Fucking sucks.
Hey, it's a working title. Just another wrestling podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Scott Sudakov and Daryl Hatfield.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Just Another Wrestling Podcast, a working title. I am one of your hosts, Scott Sudakov, being joined by Daryl Hatfield. I am in beautiful Chicago, Illinois. Daryl is in beautiful New Jersey. Is that where you are right now?
Yes, I am in the, I'll call it the Philadelphia part of New Jersey.
Okay, the better part.
Yeah.
I'm not totally sure. I don't mean to offend anybody listening. New Jersey's fine.
North Jersey's a little iffy.
Okay. Well, you're safe. You're locked in your place of living, quarantining, and staying healthy.
Yes. Surrounded by 42 pounds of meat that I bought before the big panic, and WWE Network, 2 video game systems, and some music stuff, and a turntable.
So amazingly, we are coming to you today. We're taping this on WrestleMania Saturday. Now, if you told us this a couple of months ago, or whatever amount of time ago, 3 months ago, that we're going to have WrestleMania Saturday, we'd be pretty excited about that because, you know, it's a two-day WrestleMania, but obviously the situation is a little bit different. We'll get into that, obviously, in just a couple of minutes here. Today on the show, we are going to preview the 2-day events, have our predictions as to what's going on. We also want to talk about some of the things that have been going on, of course, the last month. Now, this podcast, Just Another Wrestling Podcast, something that you and I have been in production with for a while here. Some things have delayed the debut of the show. We're happy to be debuting today, and you're either listening to us on SoundCloud or on YouTube. Eventually, you'll be able to find us on your favorite podcast provider like Apple or Spotify or Google, wherever you may find your podcast. So keep an eye out for that as we move forward here. And you most likely, if you're listening right now, have found one of us on Twitter. The show account is at JAW Podcast. And then I myself am at Sudikoff, SUDIKOFF. And Daryl, you are at D Nuggets.
Yeah, D_Nuggets.
D_Nuggets.
Yes.
So don't forget that underscore if you want to follow us on Twitter and follow the show that way. So obviously, Daryl, we'll jump right into it right now. The last month has been quite different in the world in general, and obviously in the world of professional wrestling. March 8th, they had Elimination Chamber in Philadelphia. 15,000 fans or whatever it was watched the show. They had Raw the next night. AEW had their show a couple of days later, and then a couple of days after that, we have not seen a fan in attendance at a wrestling event since. Obviously, an unprecedented kind of time here. And what were your first kind of thoughts when this was all happening as it pertained to wrestling about a month ago?
I mean, I think the initial reaction is probably in line with most people's reaction. How is this going to look with no fans in the stands? And also, how long are they actually going to do this? Because it seems like everything keeps getting shut down more and more. And after all the sports leagues said, we're not even going to have games with no fans in the stands, we're just canceling everything. I was surprised that wrestling kept going on, but they can keep the personnel in the building a little more limited. But as we're seeing now, a couple of the wrestlers are getting sick, and it's going to spread. I do think there might be a complete dark period after WrestleMania. I commended them for continuing to put on shows and get a lot of recording done. I know some people don't care for the empty arena stuff. It does make it a lot different watching, not seeing fans react to different spots, and like a heel turn right now would really not be that effective, or a major face turn. I was wondering when I heard, before I saw anything, how they were going to pull it off and what their arena was going to look like. Are they still going to do the intros? I will say, hearing theme music hit without any fans and seeing people do their ring entrances playing to nobody is kind of funny. But I do, like, what else are they going to do?
Yeah, I mean the first SmackDown, that Friday night SmackDown, was the first show that was like this for either of the two major companies, and I enjoyed that first show because they seemed to kind of embrace it. At that point, we also didn't, we were about a day in to kind of things falling apart, and maybe thinking, okay, this is maybe like a 2-week thing right now, or a month at most, or let's make the best of it. Obviously, things have kind of changed since then, but they seemed to embrace it a little bit. Triple H was on commentary, having a good time, and remember Sasha and Bayley coming out and looking around and waving to no fans, and just kind of, they were, I don't want to say mocking is the wrong word probably there, but in that situation, they were kind of having fun with it. And of course, people on Twitter are freaking out, like, why are they pretending that there are fans there? And it's like, they're not pretending that there are fans there. They are acknowledging that fans are not there and having fun with it. What do you want them to do in that situation, other than obviously just cancel shows? We'll just push that aside as a different topic. I mean, obviously, here's the thing. It's like, especially with WWE, it's always been, or has been as of, the modern era, it's a television product. It's a television show. That is sort of their main thing there. Obviously, having fans in attendance is important because you get the reactions. But in the end, they put together the shows almost as normally as they would. And the promos are for the people at home. And so that's the way I looked at it at first, just kind of as a television show, with the hope, obviously, that in a couple of weeks things would clear up a bit and they'd be able to, maybe go to Full Sail and have 200 people being in the crowd, which would make a gigantic difference. Obviously, we saw differences between what WWE and AEW did. WWE at the Performance Center is more of an echo chamber, kind of just a big, open, empty room where they had 2 announcers, 2 wrestlers, a referee, and the cameraman, and just kind of not a lot of background noise. While AEW, they've messed around with this a little bit. That first show they did, they had wrestlers lined up around the ring on the barricade, 6 feet apart. They actually did it that way. Heels on one side, baby faces on the other, cheering. I like, there's two sides to that. Obviously, is that what AEW did created a better atmosphere, but then also on the flip side, it's going against the whole, everything, the guidelines of what's going on, because all of a sudden now you do have, 20, 25, 30 people in the area, in the room together. Now, here's the thing. If you're 6 feet apart though from each other, is that okay? I mean, which style did you enjoy more from kind of the early viewing?
Hands down AEW, just because it was like they had 20 really funny fans, and I know everybody that's gone to a live pro wrestling show before, they've sat around maybe 1 or 2 fans that are yelling stuff that is absolutely hilarious. Well, it was like congregating all those hilarious fans, because you had, especially the heel talkers, they were good at it. So hearing them cheer and that sort of thing, that was cool. It added a little bit of a pro wrestling thing and like a sense of community. Now, from a safety standpoint, that's probably not the best way to go moving forward, as we find more about COVID-19 and how contagious it is. But from a presentation standpoint, I thought AEW was more enjoyable.
Yeah, for sure. But I said I enjoyed that first SmackDown. Then the Raw that they did was kind of a little bit different, and they went the way of showing. I think at the first Raw they showed the entire Men's Royal Rumble that happened obviously just a couple of months ago. So WWE has the ability to go into their archives and show whether content from 2 months ago, 2 years ago, or even last night on SmackDown they showed Flair Michaels from WrestleMania 2084. AEW doesn't really have that ability. AEW can't go into their archives and start showing stuff from 3 years ago. Obviously they can go as far back as a year ago, which they might even do eventually in the next few weeks, depending upon everything that's going on. Now, the thing with AEW that's interesting is the fact that they had a couple of guys that they were planning to debut, that they still went ahead and did, just in the situation of their empty arena in Jacksonville. The Brody Lee thing with being the Exalted One, I get it. I understand. But to me, the way they built that up was for it to be someone more on Matt Hardy's level, someone who's more of a name, and that sounds negative for Luke Harper / Brody Lee, but the fact is, comparably, who's the bigger name in the world of wrestling? Matt Hardy by far. And the way they built it up made it seem like it was Matt Hardy, obviously. And I wonder how much of that is, a change in creative as the thing was going on. Was Brody Lee always tabbed to be that guy? I can't think he was, because this storyline started months ago, before he was, we knew he was kind of on the way out, but we don't know for sure. So I'm not sure how they could say, hey, when he comes in 4 months, he's going to be the guy. So my guess is when they started that storyline, they had no idea what the payoff was going to be. Ends up being Brody Lee, and who apparently now is playing a 50% Vince McMahon character where you can't sneeze or yawn in front of him, and he'll be eating a steak and his salad while in a meeting with you, which is, for as much as AEW wants to change the world, they're still sort of, dipping into WWE's ink a little bit to get their point across too. So that's kind of what we saw, and that's what we've seen in wrestling in general. WCW did it back when they were behind WWF. They still kind of mentioned the other company or alluded to the other company, while the company on top just does their thing. Obviously, in a couple of years from now, maybe it'll be reversed. Not sure about that, but it might take a while.
Yeah, I do think that they started that whole Exalted One storyline, and they might not have even known who it was going to be. It's sort of like the Black Scorpion back in the day.
Yeah, and that's definitely good, and that's not an AEW thing too. I mean, there are plenty of storylines in wrestling history where they don't. At the beginning, they don't know exactly what the end is going to be. So, I mean, I think all things considered, it's not a bad reveal. And if you know of him from WWE, which I'm sure everybody watching AEW does, especially even the ones that say I've never watched WWE, you watched. Stop lying. Stop lying. You can be a fan of AEW and formerly be a fan of WWE. You can be a fan of both, but don't lie. So. He fits the character, obviously, because in a sense you think of him back in the Wyatt family, and now he's the leader of a group. That makes sense in that way if you want to connect the two worlds. He's a solid in-ring performer. It's funny to see him do his discus lariat finishing move, but start in the Sister Abigail position, which of course, again, you go on Twitter, the cesspool, and it's like, oh, what a shot. He's throwing a shot at Bray Wyatt because he doesn't like him. It's like, what do you mean? How's that a shot at him? He's actually probably paying homage to him and saying like, hey man, like I took, I'm using this, I'm doing this thing right now. That's for you, because, we spent 5 years of our career together. Like, God, it's friggin' Twitter. Twitter's the worst.
I would view that as
follow us on Twitter though.
Yeah.
It's yeah. And then Hardy a couple of days ago debuts the Broken character on AEW, and I don't know about you, but I think it's past its. He's teleporting. I get it. I'm not into it like I was 5 years ago in TNA. It's not. I think it's a force now at this point.
Yeah, I would have liked to see that held off until fans are back in the arenas, because debuting Broken Matt Hardy on AEW would have gotten a huge pop, and I think that is going to affect how it's received. The teleportation was a little hokey, but as a fan of the whole like cheesy horror genre thing that he's going for, I get it. I do think that there's potential there for him to do some of those, like the final deletion, the ultimate deletion, those films that he did. He did one with WWE?
One or two. One or two. He did the one with Wyatt. I don't know if there's a second one or not, but
and that was enjoyable. And then the stuff that he did with TNA was awesome. I think people like it more for the filmed vignettes, which I'm excited that we get more of those because that character is hilarious.
Yeah, you touched on something there because I think it's weird when he's just in the ring with Chris Jericho and he's doing his thing. It's supposed to be just coming off as normal. I think you're right. I think the pre-tape vignettes and the special event type of stuff where it's kind of set in a different world, that's where I think it does thrive. I think, just the way it's been shown so far in a couple of weeks of Dynamite, that's kind of where it's lost. Maybe because there's no fans too. That could also be it. So I do reserve a little bit of judgment for when things maybe go back to normal to see how it goes. But Jericho obviously makes things like super entertaining no matter what, though, with the drone, as ridiculous as it is. And I know, and this is a bad way to look at things, but for a 100% fact, if WWE was doing the same thing AEW was doing, just say not with Chris Jericho, let's just say someone else, say Kevin Owens and a drone, people would be shitting all over it. So at this point, I feel like AEW is still in that honeymoon phase where just about everything they do is gold. Now, granted, they're to the credit, there's been stuff that AEW fans and people watching have criticized, and they have, they got rid of the Nightmare collective with Brandy and all that. So there are things that aren't getting well received, but I think for the most part, 90% of what they are doing is getting a pop from fans, is getting a good reaction. Let's see if they continue that in a year from now, 2 years, and how it goes. If obviously in 3 to 4 or 5 years, there's everybody who's watching the shows is still on with everything they do, obviously they've hit on something, and they're going to be the solid number 2 company for sure, which they probably already are, right? I mean, they immediately became the number 2, I feel like, right? Once they debuted on TNT, they immediately became the number 2 company, and that's no question about that.
Oh, yeah. Like, from a monetary standpoint, absolutely, because their deal with TNT was huge. And they're on a major cable network. I would put TNT on, like, the same level as USA, slightly below Fox, because Fox is probably the
cable versus over the air for sure. Yeah. Being on TNT though is definitely on the level of USA. I can't remember the exact numbers in terms of households. It might be less. I think it's less than USA, but it's obviously it's up there. Especially a network that airs the NBA and the NBA playoffs. Now has wrestling on it again. Is going to get pretty good promotion. So they've hit it out of the park there when it comes to that. Now of course, Wednesday nights, nobody's hitting it out of the park right now because, I mean, this past Wednesday was the audience, I think, total went down by about, normally the audience has been about 16, or 1.6, 1.7 thousand watching, the 2 shows. I think this past week it dropped to 1.1 between the 2 shows, which it's definitely showing that fans are tuning out of the empty shows for both companies because it doesn't keep your attention long enough. As good as the in-ring stuff might be, it doesn't keep your attention. And honestly, I've watched now a lot of the shows the last week on mute and actually enjoy it more. Because at that point, I'm just pretending that I'm just pretending that I can't hear the crowd because I have it on mute. And just enjoying the actual wrestling going on.
That's an interesting move. I am going to have to try that. I do think the attention plays a part into it. I also think scheduling now. So everybody has pretty much been sent home from work. Some people have been furloughed. I'm lucky in that I am still completely swamped with stuff to do every day. But it's still like, and for me, I found I'm working even later hours because there's constant emergencies in the industry I'm in. Like, I'm in the financial field, so this has had a big impact on financial stuff. But think about someone who's been furloughed like that. Their whole schedule's been disrupted. when you're going to work, you're used to, I go to work 9 to 5, 9 to 6 on Wednesday. I come home, maybe I hit the gym a little bit, eat dinner, and then AEW and NXT are on. Now, there's no structure to days. You can wake up whenever, you go to sleep whenever. You might start a movie that is bleeding into the start of the shows. So I do think with yeah, I do think with the new way of life, it's going to affect people watching all at the same time. I know I haven't been watching, especially WWE stuff live when it airs, because for the most part, I've been fast forwarding through the old matches that they're showing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm watching to keep up with the storylines leading into Mania. So it's been, all right, I'm not going to watch live like I usually do, because I know like 40% of the show is going to be something I've already seen. And if they pick a match that I didn't particularly care for, I mean, they've been picking like some of the best matches. But if they pick a bad one that I have no interest in watching, then I'm just sitting there waiting for half hour until it's done.
All right, so I think we've set the scene. I mean, everybody's talked about this for the last month about how everything's going. Let's try to move into take it. We'll go with it the way it's presented right now. There's 2 days of WrestleMania with not a single fan in attendance. They taped it last Wednesday and Thursday, so it's been about 9-10 days that this has already happened, quote unquote, and amazingly, there haven't been any spoilers other than just letting us know basically that Roman was out and that The Miz was out, which are kind of spoilers, but not really. And in fact, going into the weekend, they still have The Miz involved in the match, triple threat tag team ladder match. Obviously, last night they announced that Braun Strowman was facing Goldberg in the most awkward of ways of doing it. They just had Michael Cole do a voiceover somewhere from a studio with a graphic popping up and said, and now challenging Goldberg for the Universal Championship is Braun Strowman. And that was it.
Yeah.
No other mention of it the entire night, I don't think. Now, granted, I don't expect them. People were expecting them to come out and say Roman Reigns has dropped out of WrestleMania due to concerns about this and that. I don't want to hear that, and I don't want to hear, Granted, the too big for just one night thing was ridiculous. Every 2 minutes they're mentioning it, way more than any other tagline they've ever used for anything. And we know why it is 2 days. We know why it's happening. And again, I didn't want to hear them come on the show and have Michael Cole be like, due to what's going on in the world today, everybody in the hospital and people dying and everyone's sick and staying inside, we're going to do WrestleMania for 2 days because it just fits our schedule better. Like, I don't, it's an alternate, to me, wrestling is an alternate universe from where we live. And then what's happening right now in wrestling is an alternate universe to the alternate universe. A dream within a dream. A universe within a universe. So it's its own world. I don't need to hear about, what's going on in the real world. We know what's going on. Both companies, the first time they did the empty show, Triple H came out on SmackDown, referred to the situation. Cody on Dynamite did the same thing. By the way, those two guys are way more alike than anyone may think. I mean, think about this. They're both in very high-level positions in their wrestling companies. Their wives are in high positions in their wrestling companies. Cody needs to have elaborate entrances, not only on pay-per-view, but even on Dynamite normally, where he's coming up from the ground, whatever it's called, the ground, coming up out of the stage with elaborate fireworks and all that. So they're not that, Cody's on the path. Cody's on the path to being the COO Triple H style, or whatever Triple H's title is. That's not a bad. I mean, I enjoy Cody very much, but he's doing a lot of similar things that Triple H does. Obviously, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, we'll see how his personality develops.
That's actually a really interesting. I haven't heard that before, but that's a really interesting comparison, and there are a lot of parallels there.
Now, granted, maybe within AEW, Cody is doing it as sort of like knowingly, wink, wink, like I know I'm doing what Triple H does. That's the point. I'm trying to, I'm being funny with it, and who knows? But yeah, they're not that different. And the fact of the matter is, they're probably like friends, and they probably talk once a month. And all the fans on Twitter are like, "Oh, they all hate each other. They hate each other. Oh, they despise everybody." Blah blah blah. It's like they're probably all just friends, and they're all laughing, and they're all making money, and they're all successful. And everybody, all of us, are sitting back, hoping that they hate each other and despise each other, and that we want a war.
Yeah. No,
it's not 1997 anymore.
Yeah, and I think you're dead on with the fact that they're probably friends. It's like if you're a boss somewhere and you have an employee who obviously can achieve greater things, but there's no spot for him to do that within your current company, you expect them to leave and go do it somewhere else, and you're happy for them. That's probably closer to the reality of the situation than the Cody was so mad at WWE about this. Like, no, Cody thought he had better ideas and he bet on himself. And
yeah, he opened with it, obviously, that when he was Stardust and his father, Dusty, passed away, that he was open and he wanted to go back to just being Cody. And I don't want to say take advantage of that situation, but he thought, hey, I feel more comfortable just being myself. And maybe even in a meeting said, like, I think this could work too. Like, not to use my, obviously I'm speaking as Cody Rhodes. I have no idea what his actual thoughts are. And I know that he doesn't like his dad being brought up when it comes to his career. But, maybe at the time he says, my dad was one of the greatest of all time. Like, why am I going to be in paint and a weird getup? Why don't I be myself? And the crowd's gonna love me. It's true. Like if after his dad died, if a month later he re-debuted as just Cody Rhodes, the crowd was going to love him, and he could have been a top babyface very easily. And in fact, there was a moment, if you remember, 13, 14, when the Authority thing was going on, the Daniel Bryan thing was circulating. Remember, they were doing this thing where they were making Goldust's life a living hell. Like, they were doing a bunch of stuff to him, and Cody came out to defend him, and the crowd, I remember it, the crowd was all over Cody and loving him. And I remember thinking back, like, oh, like, they got something here. Like, they should run with this right now. Like, they should have Cody be Triple H right now. Like, so that, that's a long way of, talking about how, they could be friends right now, and, professional differences, and you move on. And by the way, I was watching some Stardust stuff recently, just some different matches that have popped up. He played that character just amazingly.
Oh yeah, he was great at that.
Incredibly entertaining. So obviously it's not a shock that he also has success just quote unquote being himself, or whatever version of himself he does in the ring. I remember just watching WrestleMania 31, the ladder match that he was in, and they start chanting Cody, Cody, and you hear him in the ring going, no Cody, not Cody. Like, he really, he was given a character maybe he was not into, but he made the best of it, and I thought he was actually super entertaining, and I enjoyed the Stardust character. Now, there are a lot of people probably who get characters who do the opposite and don't embrace it. Okay, I said we were going to get into WrestleMania, so let's do that. First things first. For big shows, there have always now been betting odds on websites, which is always weird because it's wrestling and it's predetermined and it's fake, and we know, okay, it's not fake. So we have to set the ground rules here. Like, when we say fake, we know it's not. We're mocking people who say it's fake. We get it. They get hurt, but yeah, it's a fake TV show. It's like a movie. Predetermined.
There's a script.
It's fake sports, real entertainment, I like to call it.
Yes.
So, it's a weird thing to bet on in general, because you could, in theory, you could know somebody and find out results, and bet that way. Now, the fact that this has been taped almost 2 weeks in advance makes it even weirder that there are betting odds for these matches. And I know you have been scouring different sites and looking at different odds, what are a couple of things maybe that stand out when it comes to the betting odds right now? And I can't understand how any of these books are putting out odds and letting bets be made, because isn't it 100% possible that a cameraman for WWE
absolutely could bet
on one of these websites, and he taped every single match, and he knows that there weren't alternate finishes, and he goes, that person, that person, that person, that person, that person, that person, and makes $10,000? Like, I don't,
Yeah. Well, I think what the books are doing is smart. They're limiting the size of the bets that you can make on WrestleMania because of that. And then you figure, all right, even if, and this is math nerd stuff here, even if 5% of the people know the outcome and bet, and that 5% of people make money, the majority of people are still going to put money on this, like I did and like you did, even though we didn't.
What are you talking about?
Even though we didn't have any inside sources, unfortunately, just to make it more entertaining, and enough people are going to lose money that's going to offset any of the illegal insider betting, and that's probably why they're limiting the bet sizes. The one we should probably talk about first is the one I put money on, and I wanted to put way more money on it because I thought it was a ridiculous prop bet. It's no longer on the site. There were odds on Gronk becoming the WWE or Universal Champion by the end of WrestleMania, and he was minus 1,000, which for the non-gambling listeners means you would have to bet, I believe, $100 to win $1 on that.
If you're saying no, if you were going to say no.
Yeah, if you were going to say no. Or no, if you were going to say yes. So he was favored to win. You would have to bet $100 in order to just win one.
So wait, they had him favored to come out of WrestleMania with a major championship.
Yes. And it was the largest odds on the WrestleMania card. Which when you're looking at lines like that, it's like, all right, this thing seems like it's almost guaranteed to happen. It was plus 750, which means you bet $1, you win $75, which is awesome. Low risk, high reward. Plus 750 for that not to happen. So
yeah,
I have
$25 on that.
Yes, I tried to put 200. They only let you go up to 25, but I personally don't see.
So you're basically guaranteed to make yourself 25 times 75.
Yeah, it's 187. That's the
or not that much.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, that's not 25 times 75, but whatever. Forget math. Yeah, that's kind of on one end it's concerning because what do they know something? Is this something going to happen? And on the other side, it's like that's pretty stupid.
And the other site that we saw had completely opposite odds. It was plus 600 for him winning it at all this year. So it's very rare that you find two gambling sites that are on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. They're usually pretty in line with their predictions. So seeing those two, something weird happened, and we're going to find out which site has an inside source at WWE really quickly by the end of WrestleMania.
Right. All right, let's dive into the matches. There are 16 announced matches, so that would assume to be 8 each day. They're saying each show is going to go about 4 hours, which is right in the realm of okay, we can handle this. So you'd assume 8 matches each day. That's obviously not, they could do 7 and 9 depending upon how they, how each thing goes. So let's start from the bottom here. First up, Otis versus Dolph Ziggler. This has been about Mandy Rose, and the big unveil last night was the quote-unquote hacker that has been on SmackDown for the last month or so. There's been glitches on the screen and words popping up where nobody would even reference them at all. They would just happen, and nobody would say, "Oh, what was that?" Until last night. When everybody paid attention to it, and they show it's the new version of GTV from back in the late 90s, where there are cameras on everything, and it caught Sonya sabotaging Mandy and Otis's date and then colluding with Dolph because Sonya, I guess, would rather her best friend date Dolph instead of Otis, I guess. We don't really know the motives just yet so far, but there's a match at WrestleMania between Otis and Dolph Ziggler, and that was not a match. I can't imagine that was a match that was on the card in a normal circumstance here. It is Dolph Ziggler's first singles WrestleMania match of his career.
Yeah, that is absolutely insane. And I do believe he tweeted out that after this weekend, he's going to have exactly the same amount of singles WrestleMania matches as Michael Cole.
Yep. And so my thoughts on this, I'm going to go, quickly prediction on this. I think Ziggler will win the match because, it's too early for Otis to get his payback just yet. He needs to be, he needs to work a little bit harder for this. I don't know I don't know if they have plans to put Mandy with Otis in the future. How does his tag team partner Tucker get involved with this? Are they going to use this to split up the tag team? They love to split up tag teams super early, so that could happen. Are we looking towards some sort of mixed tag match in the future? Otis and Mandy versus Dolph and Sonya. So there are ways to go. I mean, again, this is probably a match you can actually just, skip if you're watching WrestleMania, because I don't think there's going to be a ton that comes out of it right now. There's going to be stuff in the future potentially. So I'm going with Dolph just because just the idea of, if Otis wins now, the story's already over. And I don't think it's going to go that way. And I know the betting odds have Otis favored.
Yes.
Which was surprising.
Slightly favored, but he is favored.
So I'm going Dolph.
I'm going with Dolph as well. I think you're correct. There's still a lot more story to be told here. Also, I think we're going to see a more than normal. WrestleMania usually is the happy show where you see a lot of the faces go over, a lot of stories. And I think that's going to change with this year's WrestleMania, because why would you waste a potential baby face pop in an empty arena where
right.
and that is something like that's going to suck for. There's a couple performers I feel really bad for, because they're in that spot where they're going to have their WrestleMania moment, but it's going to be the weirdest WrestleMania moment. And they're going to judge it more on like how many cool tweets happened around the empty arena match rather than hearing it and feeling that energy. But yeah, I have Dolph in this one, continuing that story, especially since they just broke the Sonya Deville aspect last night. There's a lot more to be told there.
Yeah, and I think you're right with the babyface heel thing. So if a heel wins on this show, and it's crickets, that's fine. That's you would want that from you'd want booing from the crowd, obviously. But yeah, I think you're right. I think we're probably going to see a little bit more of heels winning this weekend because of that. But there's also tons of production tricks that we have no idea that they could be in store for this weekend. And I've been watching WrestleMania Theater on the network, where they have different camera angles of WrestleMania matches and different audio and all this. And so they have the ability to do some pretty fun, interesting stuff. So I think we're going to see, especially with the Firefly Funhouse and the Boneyard match, that are going to have some interesting dynamics to them. All right, so we're both going with Dolph here. Let's move on. Elias versus King Corbin, and this is the match that we're most likely going to see Rob Gronkowski involved with. We forgot to mention, Rob Gronkowski is the host of WrestleMania, so we're going to see him a lot over the weekend, and this is probably the match that he's going to be involved with, because this is the match that he sort of set up between Elias and King Corbin, and it makes perfect sense for Gronkowski to go against Corbin. Again, King Corbin is that prototypical bad guy that you hate, and everybody thinks we hate him because it's go away he, but it's real he, and we don't know what that means. We're all marks. We don't understand. It's just stop trying to analyze it. Just watch the show. If you don't like it, then don't watch it. But King Corbin is over, and he's a bad guy, and people don't like him, and that's what is supposed to happen. So shut up. He has X-Pac heat. I know wrestling. It's like, no, you don't. Saying he has X-Pac heat makes you sound like a friggin' loser.
Yeah, he is an annoying character, and sometimes not that entertaining. But when he's doing his jokey stuff, because the jokes are so bad, everybody knows someone like that they think they're funny and they're not. That's a great character. Am I always the most entertained by him? No, but I actually do appreciate his in-ring work because it seems like he's really safe. So he should never have X-Pac heat, if that even is a real thing. But yeah, this. So if we're looking at the odds on this one, they flipped. Last night, Corbin was favored to win. He's now the underdog. So I don't know if news came out or a lot of people might have bet on Elias as the underdog and pushed the line. Don't know if anything on behind the scenes has changed, but Elias is now favored. I picked Elias to win partially because of the Rob Gronkowski storyline. If Gronk's getting involved, it's going to be with Elias. I don't imagine they would turn Gronk heel as the host of WrestleMania, although that would be really funny.
I think their plan, if everything can get back to normal, is, in the future, is Gronk to be involved here to help Elias win, then have a thing with Corbin. And where is SummerSlam supposed to be in August? Do you know where SummerSlam is supposed to be in August?
I believe it's supposed to be in Boston, correct?
It is supposed to be in Boston. So if you're going to do something with Gronkowski and have him maybe be in a match, where are you going to have that match? In the city, the area where he won Super Bowls and is guaranteed to be cheered 100%. Well, maybe not 100% because people are, idiots like that. Oh, he's messing up my wrestling. Get him out of the wrestling ring. He doesn't belong there. I don't care if he won Super Bowls. It's entertainment. Get over it. That's where I would think if they can do it, if SummerSlam can still happen in Boston, I think Rob Gronkowski versus Baron Corbin is a match that is most likely going to happen, or at the very least a tag match with someone else involved. Maybe Corbin can recruit an old NFL teammate of his that he might know to be involved in the match too, and you get one of those WCW style matches that we saw in 1998. Now, I don't have high hopes, by the way, for SummerSlam actually emanating from Boston. I'm going to say it right now. I think SummerSlam will be happening from Full Sail University in August with about 200 fans in attendance, because maybe hoping by then you'll be able to have small scale events, and that's how they'll be able to do their shows moving forward when they get the go ahead, hopefully mid-summer at the latest. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen in Boston either. And I was also going to say there's going to be that small subset of people that aren't going to like Gronk because he's messing up the wrestling. I also think there would be a few groups of Patriots fans in the crowd in Boston, should it happen in Boston, that are pissed that Gronk is wrestling and not playing football still. I think those are the two pockets of fans that are not going to be receptive to Gronk.
And those people are losers too, idiots also. Yeah. It's like, let him do whatever he wants. He doesn't want to play football for you anymore. Get over it. Sorry.
And while wrestling,
he doesn't owe you anything.
Yeah, and while wrestling is a dangerous endeavor, his coworkers are actually trying to protect him while they're working. His coworkers in the NFL were trying to kill him and get him off the field because he was a monster.
Right. So I think that's their, hopefully, or maybe their plan moving forward. Obviously, that is all kind of up in the air. Now, of course, also any other city he goes to, though, with an NFL team in it, or maybe not even an NFL team, he's probably going to be a heel.
Oh, yeah.
Just because, which would be kind of fun, I think, as well. The only place he might not be would be, in upstate New York,
Yeah.
where he's from. So if they did a show in Buffalo, that one would be 50-50 because obviously Buffalo, because the Bills, but also maybe people go, hey, he's a hometown guy.
And Arizona, he might be a face in too, since he went to college down there.
Oh, yes, you're right. It was a Wildcat. Good call. All right, so we're both going with Elias on that one, I believe, and we gave our reasons why. The next match I have listed is Aleister Black versus Bobby Lashley. We're not going to spend any time on this. Aleister Black has been squashing guys on Raw in the last couple of weeks. They've been bringing in guys from Evolve, I think, to do matches with him, and local talent, and he's been winning within a minute or less. We haven't seen Bobby Lashley on TV in about a month, probably mostly due to the situations. Just, he may have said, hey, I'm not coming. Who knows? Maybe I'm not coming until, this time. I'll do this one match and that's it. So if Aleister Black does not win this match, then what the why am I censoring myself? What the hell are they doing? So I'm not. It's not even worth talking about that much.
One of the heaviest odds on the board too. Aleister Black minus 700. Black by $1 million.
Yeah, but and you know what? You look back at his record last year or so. I mean, how many singles matches has he lost? I can only remember one, and that was against AJ a few weeks ago, and that was after he already had to beat both Anderson and Gallows successfully in a row. So he was wrestling his third match in a row, and then lost to AJ, and then he got the win back because of Undertaker's help later on. So they have been building him up to be someone of importance, and the rumor is, the reports are, the dirt sheet gossip is that Paul Heyman is a big fan of Aleister Black. So again, I think a convincing win will happen tonight or tomorrow for Aleister Black. Moving on, Women's Tag Team Championships. Kabuki Warriors, who haven't defended the tag titles in I think 6.5 months, taking on Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss. I think part of the reason why the Kabuki Warriors haven't done as much together is because, remember, Kyrie had that concussion at TLC against Becky and Charlotte. So I think part of it is they've probably been moving slow with her. She has had matches since, so it's not so much that, but I think they've kind of been protecting that whole situation. And, again, this match is not one with a ton of meat on the bone. They sort of cobbled it together. Alexa was sort of saying some things for weeks about how you should defend the titles against us. Of course, they lost the titles to the Kabuki Warriors back in October. So they have been champions since October. Man, the women's tag team titles, they were super important last year at WrestleMania. The first time that they were, the first time they were defended at WrestleMania. Remember being there, it was a big deal. They lost. Sasha and Bayley lost them to the Iconics, who are missing in action as well. This match will probably be pretty good. I'm gonna go with Alexa and Nikki to win, just because they need to have some babyfaces win here and there. Although this would be the third straight match, I think, where the babyface would win. So.
Yeah. Alexa and Nikki are slightly favored. I do think they're going to win as well, and part of the reason is I think that they might maybe not split the Kabuki Warriors up, but I think they're going to go more towards like singles action with them. Because you think about like the fresh talent that's getting called up. Now we can have a Asuka versus Shayna Baszler match, Asuka versus Rhea Ripley.
How do you pronounce Asuka?
Asuka.
Asuka?
Yeah.
Asuka?
Yes.
Like Oshkosh, Wisconsin?
Yeah, Asuka.
Asuka.
Asuka?
Asuka.
Asuka.
Just don't say it. Just don't do what Kurt Angle did the first time he was on TV and he said Asuka. Asuka's much better than that. So carry on.
All right, but yeah, I think they can even do some Kairi Sane versus like Becky Lynch. You could put her in a program with them. I think there's more potential on the singles, side, to have them really, and they can still be in each other's corner, but I think they need to get the belts off of them and have them
What about Alexa and Nikki? Because remember, when they got together, you were just waiting for Alexa to turn on Nikki Cross, and it never happened, which was good. I liked it. It was different. It was like you expected, this friendship that looked like it wasn't real became real. We know something's going to happen eventually. What's going to happen? Is it Nikki turning on Alexa, or is it Alexa going back to being her? She's good as a babyface. She's not bad. She's very good in that, but she's still better as a heel. So I think eventually down the road, Alexa's going to turn on Nikki, and hey, it could happen tonight / tomorrow for all we know. Now, maybe not a good time to do stuff like that because. Now, here's the differing opinion though on having those types of switches with no crowd. Is that, remember when Becky did her thing turning on Charlotte a couple of years ago? That was meant for her to be a heel. What made it not happen was the crowd.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, if that had happened, just for the sake of argument, in front of no fans or no reaction, do viewers view Becky more as the heel at home? Because again, we know that the vast majority of the audience that watches WWE is not big on the dirt sheets. They're not, big on the internet stuff. They're not consuming every little detail. It's only that hardcore majority are. And at a event like SummerSlam, every year, no matter where it is, WrestleMania, all that, the crowd is made up usually of those types of fans that are going to react in a different way. So it makes me think, how would things be different without a crowd, just in general? I know that's stupid because it can't not be a crowd. I get it, but just thinking in that lens, that how that would change perception moving forward. Because there were probably a lot of people at home watching that SummerSlam who, again, as I mentioned, just a casual, average, normal fan that's not like you or I that watched it, and people go, "Why are they cheering for Becky? She just punched out her best friend. Like, what's going on? We're supposed to like her? I'm confused." So. Yeah, that's a little sidebar there.
That is a good point. Any heel turn or face turn is going to be definitive, and the crowd can't really dictate whether it worked or not.
Yeah, and the promo work has been really entertaining because now they're just looking into the camera and they're just talking to us, as opposed to pausing for a chant and pausing for reactions and fighting through what chants and all this stupid garbage. And the promos are actually better, and you're seeing the guys who are really good at it and the guys and girls who are really good at it deliver. Like Seth Rollins a couple of weeks ago had one where he's walking around the ring talking about how the Performance Center is here because of him and all that, and he's talking down Kevin Owens. And if the crowd was there, they'd be, what, and he'd be having to stop and all that. And so I really hope they institute a ban on the what. I think Austin needs to come out one day in the middle of the ring and say, "Stop it! Just stop it! Unless I'm here. You do it. Only time you do it is when I'm here. That's it."
Yeah.
I don't know people listen. I think people would actually. I think it would work. So Steve, if you're listening to this, call up Vince and call up the almighty Vince in all capital letters, VINCE, capital letters. That's we all know him personally, so he's just Vince. And ask if you can go on TV eventually one day when crowds are back and just say, "Stop it." Okay. Raw Tag Team titles: the Street Profits versus now Angel Garza and Austin Theory, a match that was thrown together in the first place with Andrade and Garza. Andrade is injured. Austin Theory, who has had like 3 matches on NXT since coming from Evolve, the champion, is thrown in. Great for him. Right spot, right time, obviously. But I think the Street Profits win this match, and I don't really see much of a reason to talk too much about this one. I don't know if you think differently.
No, they're highly favored, and it would be really weird if they just put the belts on a cobbled together tag team like a substitute match. So Street Profits all the way. What do we got next?
Now the SmackDown Tag Team Championship still being billed as a triple threat ladder match: Miz and Morrison versus the New Day versus the Usos. Now there has been, I don't consider this a spoiler. I mean, it's been out there for about a week. Is that the Miz did not take part in this match, and that this match, again, if anybody's listening to this right now and is considering this a spoiler, it's not that big of a spoiler, but apparently they end up doing this match just as Morrison versus Kofi versus Jimmy and or Jay. I'm not sure which one. As a triple threat ladder match. I think with the tag title still on the line, which is interesting, obviously, but it's not that ridiculous. At least it's one member of each team, and to me, that's actually going to be a better match than having 6 guys running around with ladders. Now you just have 3, so I think that'll be interesting to see. I think I like what they've been doing with Miz and Morrison, so I'd like to see Morrison win the match. New Day and Usos, they have a combined 37 tag team championships, so I think they'll be okay. I eventually still would like to see Big E try to be on his own, whether that's turning on Kofi, something like that. It's amazing how everything has to be turning on someone to be able to do something. Maybe they just break up because they say, "Hey, Big E, go give it a shot," type of thing. So that's my thought with this match. Morrison and Miz and Morrison retain the tag titles, and this should be pretty fun. I would think this type of match can get over the fact that there's no crowd. I mean, you're not gonna get the holy shit chance, and then this is awesome. But I think if they keep it fast paced, and they're obviously gonna have 7 ladders around the ring, and they're gonna break a table, and they're gonna jump this, jump that. I think it should be entertaining enough that if you just watch it for the entertainment factor, it should be pretty good.
Yeah. I'm sort of with you on the I would keep the belts on Miz and Morrison, but I could see there being a switch happening because apparently Miz had some heat for showing up to the Performance Center sick, so they might punish them a little bit, take the belts off of them. If they take the belts off of them, I think it goes to the Usos. But yeah, I think the match is going to be entertaining as hell. I'm pretty sure Kofi was a gymnast. He might have even been a gymnast in college. I believe Morrison was too. So you have 2 of the most athletic dudes, and the Usos can both fly.
Morrison does parkour.
Yes.
Which I guess is like a form of gymnastics. I'm not sure. Kofi obviously is a tremendous athlete, and the Usos aren't too bad themselves. They can get up and fly. So, yeah, I think that'll be interesting. I think your point about the Miz, I don't see it so much maybe as a punishment potentially, but it could be the idea of, we're not sure when we're going to have the Miz, come back even. We might say just stay home for a month, and we don't even know if they're going to be able to do any shows moving forward anyways, so we'll see. Intercontinental title, Sami Zayn versus Daniel Bryan, another match that seemed like kind of got thrown together. Drew Gulak had to earn the match for Daniel Bryan, and I like the Drew Gulak-Daniel Bryan pairing, but I think it screams of Drew Gulak joining Sami, Cesaro, and Nakamura. So I think Zayn retains, maybe because Gulak doesn't do anything malicious just yet, but maybe just sort of gets in the way and allows Sami to retain the title.
Yeah, I have enjoyed the Daniel Bryan Drew Gulak thing tremendously as well, and that's one pairing that I'm a little sad for them because they haven't been able to do it in front of an audience, because I'd love to see how like a large crowd reacts to those 2 together, like working together. I'd also love to see like they had been going back and forth on Twitter recording their at-home workouts, which was hilarious.
Right, yeah.
I would love to see like training footage and like cheesy montage training with those 2. I think they work really well together. I'm with you. I got Sami Zayn. The sports books have Sami Zayn slightly favored at -200, so he's no Aleister Black runaway favorite, guaranteed to win. Bet your 401k on it. But yeah, I see Sami retaining, and I don't know if I see Gulak turning on Bryan, but maybe Gulak is the one to finally take the belt off of Sami, because why give Bryan the Intercontinental Championship?
And Bryan
doesn't need it.
Everything indicates to him kind of going away a little bit. His wife is pregnant again. He obviously has a young child already. He's been able to come back and pretty much go full time for 2 years after returning. In his mind, he might be thinking, hey, I got to come back, got to do this full time 2 years. I have a second child on the way. He's not retiring by any means, but he might be pulling back the reins to his career. And all the power to him. I mean, can't fault him for wanting to come back in the first place and then doing it his way. And so
that's a good point. That might be why he's paired with Gulak. They're transferring some of his personality traits over to Drew, so someone can still play that Daniel Bryan role moving forward when he's out of the...
All right, let's a couple more. Well, more than a couple more matches left. Yeah. Let's try to roll through a couple here. SmackDown Women's Title: Bayley defending against Lacey Evans, Tamina, Naomi, and her best friend Sasha Banks. Elimination match, which I think is interesting. I like that. I'm not usually a fan of the 5-6 person matches where the first pin wins. So I like the fact that it's elimination. They've been making Tamina out to be the favorite the last couple of weeks, which has been interesting. It makes me wonder if Nia Jax was supposed to be in that position at first. Not really sure on her situation. Part of me thinks there's no chance that they give a title run to Tamina, but then on the other side, I think about, well, she's been with the company for a very long time. I don't think she's ever been any type of women's champion.
No, I don't believe so.
This might be a time where they say, hey, let's reward her for her just time with the company and make her the champion. Or obviously it's just, a way to build up things here and make her, just a presence in the match. I'm going with Lacey Evans because I feel like they've wanted to go with her over the last couple of months. They had her lose to Bayley at Royal Rumble. Granted, I think there were some tactics involved by Bayley, cheating tactics, maybe holding on to the tights a little bit. I think Bayley and Sasha are going to kind of eliminate each other, sort of, which, I mean, technically they can, I know that, but I mean, like, Bayley will roll up Sasha quickly and eliminate her, and then Sasha will be yelling at her, and then Bayley will get, super kicked by Tamina and pinned. And then they'll be like, hey, what the heck? And they, ruin it for each other type of thing. That's why. So I think Lacey is going to kind of slide in there and end up winning the championship, because I think they, really want to promote her as someone kind of a face of the company type of person that, military background, all that. They've used her daughter obviously in the front row. That's where I lean. That's where my dollars are going on Lacey Evans, who is above average in-ring performer, obviously has really good athleticism. Her matches have been hit or miss here and there, obviously, but she's still pretty young in the business, obviously. But I'd like to see what she can do as a champion.
Yeah. She's my pick to win. That's who I put my real dollars on. She's not the Vegas favorite, though. Sasha Banks is. But I do think Lacey pulls it off here. I do think that Bayley's going to get eliminated before Sasha. The last two are Sasha and Lacey, and you see where Bayley would struggle with who she root for, because if Sasha wins, then she kind of has to play nice and can't go after the title. But if Lacey wins, she hates Lacey. So I feel like that's a good story to tell there.
Do you picture Bayley staying out at ringside watching that part of the match, just in the end, sort of? She gets eliminated, but she stays out and she watches, and you see the struggle with her, like rooting for Sasha, but then they cut to her and she kind of pulls back, like, well, no, I don't know if I want her to win.
Yeah. Well, like, especially if she gets eliminated by Tamina, like a really strong super kick or something, she can lay around at ringside after she gets eliminated for a little bit because she's knocked out. And then when she's coming to, like, think about that. She's coming to, and she looks in the ring, and Lacey and Sasha are the last two. So it's like...
I picture Lacey winning, and then Bayley sliding back in the ring, and then Sasha and Bayley just, kicking her ass.
Yeah.
After she's won the title already. All right, so we're through that one, SmackDown Women's Title. I think that can be fairly entertaining. Again, I like the elimination factor of it. Obviously, that'll eat up a pretty good amount of time on the card as well. Which time really isn't an issue because they're not live, so they could have edited everything down as much as they want. They could cut out. We won't even know, but there could be two minutes cut out of a match, and we might have no idea that it's happened. Owens versus Rollins, which was happening, was in the works for months here, and so I don't think this is any change to what they were going to do with their match. Obviously, there's a lot of people that could be involved. I don't think it doesn't seem like there's going to be the involvement of the AOP and Buddy Murphy, and obviously Samoa Joe has been gone, and so I think this would be a pretty steady one-on-one, match. Here's the thing with this match. Much like Edge and Orton, we'll talk about later, this match shouldn't be collar and elbow tie-up, suplex, armbar. It should be punch, 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 kick, punch, punch, throw into the steps, like trying to hurt the other person type of match, right? Like this is the type of feud, especially on Kevin Owens' side. That should be the type of match that this is. This shouldn't be a wrestling match. This should be a fight.
Yeah, and that sort of falls in line with they have done a good job at building Kevin Owens as sort of like a pseudo Stone Cold, and that fighting style and this is one of the matches that I feel the worst for not being able to have in front of a crowd, because I think WrestleMania, it's Owens' first WrestleMania as a face, correct? And he would probably get a pretty big pop.
Yeah, because last year he was he'd just come back as a babyface, although then he turned heel again.
Yeah.
And he did not have a match at WrestleMania. And then the year before he was involved in that, Sami Zayn, Daniel Bryan, Shane tag team. And obviously he had the match with Jericho where he had turned on Jericho the year before that. And then I can't go any further back with his WrestleMania timeline. But yes, you're correct. Would this be his first WrestleMania as a babyface?
And think about, it's going to be the first stunner performed in a WrestleMania match since Stone Cold left, right? Inside an actual match, because Stone Cold's done some stunners at WrestleMania after, but not to win and not to be arguably the top heel.
Can't imagine anybody else doing the prototypical stunner in a match at WrestleMania. Maybe there's been sort of versions of it. Cena had that sort of springboard off the rope stunner.
Yeah.
That doesn't count though. It's different.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I'm gonna go with Seth Rollins. I think you just have to continue to sort of move on, keep going with the Monday Night Messiah thing, and hopefully you can truly blow this thing off at some time down the line to get that full effect.
That's who I got too. Owens is the Vegas favorite, but I'm with you. You keep this going because Owens can get a huge pop at the end of it in front of a large crowd, so you don't want this story to end. And they're doing a good job at telling the story. There's no reason to end it now. So let Rollins win in some weird underhanded way and keep it going.
Okay, Undertaker, AJ Styles, Boneyard match. It's what's his name? Mark McCool taking on Alan Jones in a Boneyard match, which is going to be a graveyard match, which I'm not even sure if they've ever had one of those before. But the picture of the Undertaker in the graveyard doing his promos, that's what they're going to be. I picture a Hollywood graveyard lot that they have, and all that. I think part of the reason why they didn't call it a graveyard match is due to the ongoing circumstances in the world. Sort of don't want to evoke that as much. So Boneyard is more of a slang version for that. This is obviously one of the two matches that can be super produced and edited, and a lot of things can happen in it, whether there's Undertaker's special powers going on and all that. But the big thing going into this was what angle they were taking, because before everything changed, AJ is referring to him as Mark and to his wife Michelle McCool, and not really being a super all natural guy. And so at first it made you think they were going down the road of Undertaker's just going to be his biker American badass type. But then AJ then takes a turn the other way, saying, I want to bring back the dead man of old, and that's why I'm doing a boneyard match. So very confusing in the way that they built it, and partly probably because of how things have changed. Your thoughts on that? Because it's confusing. I was entertained by it overall. Undertaker had a really good promo last Monday on Raw, where he dropped the "I'll make you famous" line for the first time in a while. And in the end, I think whatever this match ends up being, Undertaker wins it. Can't imagine giving him a third WrestleMania loss.
Yeah, Vegas agrees with that. He's minus 400 to win, so I think he wins as well. I'm interested to see this. I think having a boneyard, like, super produced match, probably good for the Undertaker at this point, although he apparently had come back in way better shape, and, like, not that he was out of shape, he was hurt. His body had broken down from years and years of abusing it in a wrestling ring. But I think editing will be a plus to this. Plus, he's working with a phenomenal worker.
But I mean, here's the thing: like, as far as we know, there's not going to be a ring or anything. So it's really not, as I mentioned earlier with Rollins and Owens. This is definitely not going to be a wrestling match, right? I mean, it's going to be, shovels and bricks and bones and whatever else is lying around that's going to be used. I'm sure, there'll be a choke slam, and I don't even know what AJ would do to the Undertaker in this situation, other than just, like, throw stuff at him. Yeah. Like, he's not giving him the Styles Clash. We know that for a fact. Even though they invoked that because of the Faith Breaker that Michelle McCool does, I can't imagine AJ Styles applying that move to the Undertaker. It would seem less than safe in general with most people, but I just I don't see that happening. So I'm interested in what they're going to do for that. As hokey and as stupid as it sounds potentially, that's one of the things I'm looking forward to seeing, is what they're going to do with this in this situation. Because again, regular situation, this happening at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, they're probably just having a regular one-on-one match, maybe no holds barred, something like that. I would think like that. They weren't going to have a boneyard match, obviously. So they are trying to do the best that they can, I think, here.
And do you think the OC gets involved, or?
Yeah, I think so. I think
And does Kane show up to help? I could see that happening.
I'll say no, because that will not look good for him in his political career. If in the middle of this he's driving down from Tennessee to Orlando, and putting a mask back on and doing wrestling, I just he seems smart enough to be like, I'm gonna not do that. But I could be wrong. They also could use like a hologram version of him for all we know, or a CGI version. They got some great production people.
They can put a different guy in the mask.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. All right. Here's a match that I'm bummed that is in the situation that it's in, the NXT Women's Championship, Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair. It lost really kind of that NXT vibe to it over the last 3 weeks, because NXT has been NXT, but part of NXT obviously is the crowd and the different feel that it has, and so kind of the build for it has been halted because of in this, to me would have been obviously a huge moment for Rhea Ripley, one way or the other, in a win or a loss. In the normal situation, I would have gone with Charlotte, because I think they would have then used that to have her be on NXT on Wednesdays and try to get a little bump here and there, and raise the game over there a bit more. But I think how things are, I think Ripley is going to be put over strong. I think she's going to matchup with Charlotte, and obviously Flair is not going to be hurt by losing. Doesn't need the NXT Women's Championship. So I'm going to go with Rhea Ripley. I think they're going to use this just as a way to show, like, she's on the same level or close to the same level as Charlotte Flair, and use it as a way to build up NXT as well.
Yeah, I'm with you there, and I'm bummed for Rhea Ripley because this could have been a crowning moment where they pretty much picked the next female superstar. It's not like Charlotte and Bayley and Sasha and Becky are at the end of the rope or anything, but Rhea's a little bit younger, so that's a nice...
I mean, she's what? I think she's 23,
yeah,
22.
So she's a great bridge for the next 10 to 15 years. Like, they're on the way to developing a constant stream of bigger-than-life superstars, which is awesome. So it's a bummer, but I do think she wins. Vegas thinks she wins. But I also think that feud will last a little longer. I don't think Charlotte loses and shakes hands and is okay with it.
That's definitely, yeah. I mean, there could be that. I mean, it depends if they just want it to be over with, and maybe Rhea Ripley wins and Charlotte says, you know what? You beat me fair and square. And that's a way to, give Ripley the rub. Also, again, Charlotte Flair is the heel in this situation. It might give her a reason down the line to revisit this. And we could see it again in the summer or in the fall.
Yeah.
So, Raw Women's title, Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler. Again, another angle. I mean, everything was affected by, not being in front of a crowd. I think they did a pretty good job of continuing this on with Shayna attacking Becky and Becky attacking Shayna in different situations. I think Becky holds on to the title again because to me, I still feel like their ultimate plan, and maybe I'm totally wrong, is Ronda to come back eventually and beat Becky and take the title back. And I think it'll work better if Becky remains the champion for the year that she's already been until that point. If she drops in and gets it back, to me that diminishes that little bit of extra that goes to it. Ronda will still have the ability to say, look at the tape. My shoulders weren't down for a second and a half of that count. They even showed it again a couple of weeks ago. They did not edit it. They showed the match in its entirety, and they showed it, and they replayed it, and they made it known. They didn't hide it. So, to me, I still think that is happening at some point. Granted, it could be not for the title as well. She could come back and just want to avenge the loss, but I just feel like it makes more sense to keep the title on her. I mean, again, imagine the semi-main event or main event of SummerSlam, whether or not it happens, who knows. Becky Lynch, Raw Women's Champion since WrestleMania the previous year, taking on Ronda Rousey, the only loss she suffered against Becky Lynch, trying to get the title back.
Yeah.
To me,
and I'm hoping you're right, but I don't think you are. I think Shane is getting the belt. That's what I put my money in. Vegas thinks at 2 slightly. She's minus 200, but I agree with you. That would be a way better story, and I think that story's stronger with the belt. The fact that Ronda can say she never truly ever got beat. She can drop a line, the last year and a half of your life has been a total lie, which would be a super cool, powerful line and angle. And then you can tell the whole story of like Becky now doubting herself. She has the man persona, but is she really? Because she got this title in a way that like wasn't a real win. So she can definitively prove that she deserved it at WrestleMania, or we get Ronda who never truly got beaten back on top, and then you can do a program with her and Rhea Ripley, and there's a lot of matchups for Ronda, like new matchups now. Women's division, pretty exciting.
Yeah, and just, if Becky does win, it does. I do question what happens with Shayna, though. Where does she go? Is she only on Raw temporarily? Maybe does she going back to NXT? Does she go back after Rhea Ripley for the title? if Charlotte wins the NXT title and stays quote unquote on NXT, does Shayna go to NXT to fight Flair? So there are maybe a couple of options there. So I wonder, and again, I'm sure a lot of plans have been thrown out the window. A lot of plans are being changed on the fly, and we haven't talked about this yet, but they've taped content up through this Monday's Raw already, and after that, they might not have anything moving forward other than just pre-packaged promos, interviews, studio stuff, and old matches, because they might not have the ability to do anything moving forward. So we might actually see just a month of paused action, just a month of nothing, where they're really going to, regroup everything, which again is why kind of heels winning and champions and having more heels winning and more champions retaining makes the most sense, where it's just like, let's just get through this, keep everything kind of as it has been, and see when we can get back to normal, and then go from there. So using some of that logic, I'm going with Becky, and they'll have to regroup from there. All right, we got 4 matches left. Oh my God, four left still. All right, Firefly Funhouse match. John Cena versus The Fiend. Cena officially accepted the match last night. Big thing making the rounds. There was an interview that was released on social media with John Cena that apparently has been scrubbed from social media. I'm not sure. I saw it. Everyone's saying it's been deleted, but Cena, quote unquote, with a shoot interview with Kayla Braxton that the WWE produced, so it's not a shoot interview. Basically saying that he's not afraid of the Fiend, that he knows it's Bray Wyatt, and he knows it's a guy in a mask, and he knows that he was once Husky Harris, and he's just, playing a character. And people sort of taking that as, oh, he's going to bury him. He's burying his character because he's recognizing who he was in the past, and he's shooting on him, and he's complaining that all these guys are asking for second chances and third chances when they don't deserve it. You're all being worked. I think that was the point of that interview and the point that it got released. Now, I guess the question is, well, then why would they delete it? Maybe the same reason. Maybe they are pretending that, oh no, this got out. This is not, no. Oh no, this wasn't supposed to be released. This was something they did for fun, or, he was just.
And that's what you sort of have to do in
they're trying to manufacture. Yeah. They're manufacturing some sort of interest, because now people are going to be more interested maybe to tune in and see, oh, Cena's just going to bury him. He's just going to win him because, he's talked about how he's not worthy of these opportunities, until, Wyatt absolutely destroys Cena in this match, whatever it is, and throws him through the fake wall that they have, and smashes a picture frame over his head, and then puts his hand in a blender and blends it and then drinks it. It's some crazy shit.
Yeah. I got the Fiend in this one. I think it's going to be entertaining. This is another one of the ones where it would have been fun to see in front of the live crowd. Because the anti-Cena crowd would be hot for this one, as would the pro-Bray crowd.
Right.
I think the crowd would have been on fire and would have added a lot to this match. But yeah, Vegas thinks the Fiend wins. I think the Fiend wins. Who you got?
I gotta go with Bray Wyatt. I mean, I know people are gonna yell at me and say, "Have you not watched wrestling in the past with John Cena in this?" And there's no way they could have John Cena win this match, because let's say he was just popping in to do WrestleMania, and him winning means absolutely nothing, does nothing. Even if their plan is to push Wyatt aside, there's still no reason for Cena to do it. Anybody else can do it. They can just, so yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to go with it. 100%.
Also, I don't think they have Bray Wyatt lose to Goldberg and Cena back to back after all the progress that they made building his character up over the past year. That'd be a little ridiculous. They do some dumb stuff, and I don't think they're gonna be that dumb about it.
All right, last man standing, Edge versus Randy Orton. Obviously, another match that's kind of a bummer because it's Edge's return, or at least return to a singles match. Last man standing. I wonder if that was going to be the stipulation initially, or if they were just going to have a straight up match at first. And then maybe they added this because they need to add a little oomph to the whole thing, gives them more leeway to go backstage, go in the parking lot, do whatever it might be to have a brawl. I want Randy Orton to win because I want to see this continue down the line where they can they can have a true close to the story. Yeah. In front of a crowd, in front of a SummerSlam crowd, in front of a Survivors, wherever it might be, in front of a whatever September pay-per-view they do, who cares? Just in front of an audience where Edge can really get his, return. I mean, he's had his return, but have that, another moment like that. I think Orton obviously has been outstanding throughout this. Edge has been very good as well. I think if there's any two guys that can have a match with no crowd and make it awesome, it's going to be the two of them, just based on facial expressions and intensity and the limits they're going to go to try to beat the crap out of each other. I'm going to go Orton. Orton's going to find some sort of underhanded way to keep Edge down. Yeah, obviously, I don't see Edge being knocked out for 10 seconds. There's going to be something, quirky that happens.
Yeah, Edge is actually a heavy favorite in this match, but I'm going with Orton as well, because again, it's the live crowd thing. Edge's first WrestleMania match or first singles match in front of a crowd is going to be huge. Now what they can do is have Randy beat him. And if they have to do another pay-per-view or another match with Edge in front of no fans, have him lose that too. So this have the story be told.
He's returning and they're burying him. No, they're burying him. I know what the word bury means.
Yeah, but you have him lose and tell the story like, oh, well, he hasn't been wrestling for 10 years. How the hell is he going to compete with all the guys who have been wrestling for the past 10 years?
Very good.
And have that story where, like, all right, well, he needs to refine how he used to win. And magically, he refines how to win in front of a live crowd for the first time.
Oh, that makes sense. I like that. I like that story.
Have him be a loser until the crowds are back. And then that's a huge moment.
All right, final two matches are World Championship matches. Let's start with the Universal title. No Roman Reigns. It's Braun Strowman versus Goldberg. Braun Strowman should have won whatever championship it was about 2 years ago when he was at the peak of interest. I don't know what their issue was, if they just didn't trust that he could be that guy. I don't know. Part of me thinks now they're just saying, screw it. Throw him in there, give him the championship, let's see what happens. Because everything else is going wrong in the world, in our company. If this goes wrong, big whoop. Yeah. We'll take it off him in a month or two. I can't imagine Goldberg was not going to drop the title to Roman in general. I don't see him. I mean, granted, he's been around a lot more often all of a sudden. Remember, he had a match at SummerSlam. He's done 2 of the Saudi shows. So he's been around a way more than anyone would have thought. Granted, when you get offered multi-million dollars, I don't blame him. I wouldn't blame anybody. And people who do are stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it's the way the world goes. So I think Braun Strowman beats Goldberg. Goldberg, if they have plans for him in the future, they can. He apparently with him he wouldn't agree to it, but I would love to see him be a little bitchy douche about it and complain that I was supposed to face Roman and I was ready for Roman and I lost the title to Braun, but he's a superhero and all that, so to the kids and I can't, he might not want to be like that. I think, man, honestly, I would love to just see them do a 2-minute match where Braun wins.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think the match is going to be that long. And I think Braun wins as well, although I kind of want Goldberg to win because I want to see the jackhammer on Strowman after the jackhammer on Bray.
I don't want to see that.
I like train wrecks.
They obviously had the ability to tape this and redo it if necessary. So if we see a successful jackhammer, we don't know. It could have been the second or third try.
Well, and you also have to look for the strings to see if there was any added help, like they used to do on like Tinkerbell and plays and stuff when they would make people fly. That would be really funny.
They're proposing that a cable is hanging down from the ceiling that's lifting Braun in the air.
For the jackhammer.
They could probably do it. They probably have the technology and the ability to do that. But I think the best way to go with this is to just have Braun. If you're gonna put it on, if you're gonna put him in the match and then you're gonna have him win the match, it needs to be in like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
He
Okay.
needs to look strong.
Just because you got to make it mean something.
Yeah.
So.
And that's probably the best way to have a wow moment in that match is Braun just looking incredibly.
Yeah, because nobody wants to watch them actually go for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, Roman could have quote unquote carried Goldberg to a 5 to 10 minute match that was pretty solid. Braun Strowman is not that type. That's not his fault. He's just this big guy, and that's his role is to be the big lumbering guy. He's not going to be able to bump around for Goldberg. All right, so
and that's right now the only match I don't see that has live odds for it. Which with that,
because officially didn't really come out until yesterday. That could be part of it.
Yeah.
All right, so we got one more to go. The Brock Lesnar, Drew McIntyre, WWE Championship. You know, the Drew McIntyre train started even before the new year, where he hadn't turned face per se, but he was starting to seem like test out, you know, baby face instincts. He started doing the, I hate it, but it worked apparently. The, you know, counting with the crowd, 1, 2, or 3, 2, 1, doing the Claymore kick. The crowd was getting into it. He was still kind of being a heel, but, you know, just beating up people, and fans like that when people just beat up guys and win matches, no matter if they're a heel or a babyface. So the crowd started getting behind him, and like he never had a babyface turn. He just became one. Which I like that way as well. Just have it be more organic. Obviously has the moment in the Rumble, wins the Rumble itself, has gotten over on Lesnar on a couple of occasions on Raw with attacks. And that being said, Brock Lesnar wins this match.
You think?
Yes. Because too many signs point to Drew McIntyre winning.
Yeah.
I
one of the belts is going to be retained.
Yeah, I think it's a situation where they don't. I mean, I think it's a point here. They don't want to waste a crowning moment for a babyface where there's going to be no reaction.
Yeah.
Lesnar winning can get away with nothing because he's Brock Lesnar.
And you can also like have him win not as decisively as normal, so it makes Drew McIntyre look stronger. Like, and then there can always there's that built-in sort of like respect that McIntyre just gained because he took Brock to the brink.
If you remember WrestleMania 31 with Roman and Brock was beating the absolute living shit out of Reigns, and Roman kept getting up and he was smiling and he just kept that's the type of thing I want to see in this match. I want to see Lesnar kicking the shit out of McIntyre, but Drew keeps getting up and then eventually turns the tables, gets his licks in, and then, you know, it just happens. One mistake, a second F5, whatever it is, he gets the win. And, you know, we could see it again in the future. Again, best case scenario is that SummerSlam becomes your de facto second WrestleMania, where a lot of these moments that they wanted to have happen then, and they're able to push things off. And honestly, they're going to be better off if they take a month off, or maybe 2 months off for this purpose, where they can extend the storyline, extend everything, because nothing's moving. Everyone's at home. So all these different feuds are just sit there, and they're all waiting, stewing to get back at each other when it's able. So I think Brock wins. Question is, I wonder how they're going to end each night. Do they end tonight with Brock retaining, and then do they end tomorrow night with Braun Strowman winning the Universal title, or do they end with, Becky beating Shayna, one of the, so there's so many interesting things in how they shot the show, how they're editing it, how they're post-producing, how they're going to air it, in which order, how everything's going to end, and then what they're going to do in a week. Yeah. That's all the intrigue that's there, as weird as it is.
Now, I wouldn't say I'm the most excited I've ever been heading into a WrestleMania. It usually is an exciting weekend. Last year was super exciting because we obviously both went. But this might be the most interested I've been heading in. Most fascinated.
It's a different, It's a different level. I'm fascinated to see what they do, because we know that this company in the past has done some remarkable things in different situations, and I'm very interested to see what they do. If it ends up just looking and feeling like the shows that they've been doing for the last couple of weeks, then really, what was the point? Yeah. And whatever editing, post-production that they do for this weekend, you might question, well, why haven't they been doing it on Raw and SmackDown?
Well, they had to make this look special.
Exactly. Yeah. They needed to, make a reason for this to be interesting and on its own as best as they can. I know a lot of people are going into it saying this is going to suck. Yes, compared to the normal WrestleMania, yes, it is. It just is. Yeah. If you're going to watch it for what it is. If you're entertained, you're entertained. If you're not, turn it off. But, if you got to go on Twitter and be like, this sucks compared. This is the worst WrestleMania ever. Well, no shit. No shit.
And it's really weird coming from wrestling fans. We go in suspending disbelief and acting like these fights are real. So to nitpick one aspect of it, like, well, yeah, they're not really fighting. But I want people to not really fight in front of a crowd, goddammit. What?
Exactly. Yeah, no. And yeah, it can only last for so long, obviously. If they're still doing this in a year from now, then the business is fucked. Yes. As we might say. So I think that's going to do it for our debut episode here, kind of going through what's been going on the last month and getting set for WrestleMania. Again, be sure check us out on Twitter at Sudikoff, right here at @D_Nuggets. The show account is at JAW Podcast. And you can keep up with the show there. SoundCloud, YouTube to start here. We'll be moving on to Apple and Spotify and all that. Eventually, our thoughts for this show are a little bit of everything. We're, a show like this, we're previewing, talking about a show coming up in the future. Some special guests we'll hope to have lined up to have a different flavor. And also, we like to look back at some old stuff as well, some classic content, whether it's WWF, WCW, NWA, whatever it might be, to get a different look at it. We want to kind of have something for everybody in that way, and it's also for us. It's fun for us to do. If only 10 people are listening, which I suspect they are today, that's to me that's pretty cool. That's good enough. I'm pretty bored being a sports broadcaster. I have absolutely nothing to do, so this is something for me to do. And yeah, and thank you to my man Daryl for being the production guy over in New Jersey.
Yes, thank you. And yeah, everybody, I think in closing, I would like to just say, don't complain about WrestleMania. Be grateful it's on in this weird ass time. Enjoy the show tonight, and like Scott said, follow us on Twitter. I'm sure we'll be tweeting about it. We have nothing else to do.
100%, that'll be the case. All right, that's going to wrap up the debut episode, the pilot episode of Just Another Wrestling Podcast. And we hope to be talking to you again real soon. Enjoy WrestleMania. Stay safe. And until next time, goodbye.